Hello wonderful person, welcome back to Stories Quick. Today, I will be explaining a highly rated American crime thriller titled Emily the Criminal. In this movie, a girl desperate for income takes a shady gig as a dummy shopper and must buy goods with stolen credit cards supplied by a handsome and charismatic man. She is seduced by quick cash and illicit thrills, but it soon takes a turn for the worse. Let's find out if she can survive and make it to the end. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie begins with a lady named Emily seen in a job interview. The interviewer asks Emily to explain her work and criminal history. Emily knows she has a criminal history, but the interviewer informs her that they do not do background checks and requests that she tell him what she knows about her past truthfully. This looks to be a falsehood, and the interviewer just utilized it to put her to the test. She appears to have been convicted of severe assault in 2016. She is surprised that they have all her information, and the interviewer then demands that she be honest if she wants honesty from them. So, he asks her to tell him what she knows about her criminal background. She changes her mind and becomes enraged that she was duped just as she is ready to confess. She stands up to depart, taking her file as she goes, and notes that she has $17,000 in college debt. Emily is then shown returning to her former profession as a food delivery person. A co-worker named Javier meets her on her way back and asks her to take his shift so he may take his son to a baseball game. Even though Emily doesn't often work downtown after hours, she chooses to assist him. Javier connects her with a person who can help her earn $100 per hour before he departs. Emily leaves later that evening to fill in for Javier. Emily chooses to text the number Javier provided her while on duty. She is questioned about her desire to earn $200 per hour. When Emily receives this offer, she is perplexed and inquires as to what position she will have. She is given a location where she may meet the person. Emily goes out that night to see a wealthy friend named Lizzie at a pub. They begin discussing their personal lives. Lizzie asks Emily whether she's still painting, to which she responds that she isn't, since paint is costly and she doesn't have a job. Emily says she's thinking about moving back to Jersey to live with her stepfather and save money. Emily is anxious that her past will stand in the way of her getting an interview with Lizzie's company, but her buddy pledges to speak for her. They concentrate on obtaining one drink and heading home, but one drink rapidly leads to them doing crazy things that night. Emily shows up the next day at the address that the anonymous texter gave her, which is a laundry facility. A worker at the laundry confirms that she was referred by Javier. She then proceeds to get her photo taken, where she is joined by a large crowd. When a guy called Youcef approaches them, he informs them that they will make $200 per hour illegally, but that they will not injure or be harmed. The men then provide them with cards and paperwork and tell them to go inside a store and buy flat-screen TVs while the men wait outside to collect the item and pay them. Some others have left since it looks like the card information has been stolen. Youcef tells them they may leave if they don't like it, but it's worthless to contact the cops since they won't show up. Emily steps up to go, but Youcef stops her to inquire about the situation. Emily questioned the card's authenticity. Youcef smiles mischievously and says that he doesn't know if the cards function, so they must believe him. This causes Emily to ask Youcef what they should do if they are questioned about their driver's license. A man hands her a driver's license with her image and the name Goodwin Jennifer L. This persuades her and she agrees to do it. She walks to the mall and grabs a cap to cover her face from surveillance cameras. She chooses a television and proceeds to pay for it. She's slightly nervous as she pays. After a considerable period of time, the transaction is completed and she is cleared. Unfortunately, a security officer has been following her, but thankfully, he only sought the cap she failed to pay for. The men took the television from her and paid her in cash in the vehicle. Youcef hands her the burner phone and tells her she can perform another job, but it will be a little more difficult. He says he'll contact her by 1 p.m. the next day and they'll tell her what to do when she arrives. But tomorrow's task will be worth $2,000. The next morning, she goes to work with Javier. When she inquired whether he was going the next day, he said no, but he was interested. Because the elevator is broken, they must take all of the food up the stairs. Liz contacts Emily while she is at work to inform her that there is no room in the office for her. Emily begins to wait for those men's SMS messages. It's now 1 o'clock, and yet no message from the guys. She eventually gives up and tosses the phone in the trash before leaving. But then she hears a beep and returns swiftly. She checks, and there's a yes or no text. Of course, she accepts and drives to meet the men in the van before they go to a new place. It's only her and one other guy who returned. Youcef hands both of them black cards and instructs them. The biggest danger in today's work is that the bank will call the seller to verify the transaction. So she just has 8 minutes to complete the transaction and go. Otherwise, they'll discover the card is phony, and disaster will ensue. She then goes boldly in. She climbs the stairs and knocks on the front door. It appears she's there to purchase a car, and the two guys in the office are conversing in a foreign language. Emily appears cool. She claims she doesn't want to view or test drive the vehicle, and the guys become suspicious since her request is odd, but they ultimately agree to let her pay. She takes out a check, followed by the card. He requests to see a driver's license, which she produces. He double-checks it before swiping the card. Her gaze is drawn to the clock the instant he does. He requested that she sign a paper and fill out certain forms. They take her out to the vehicle, but just as she's ready to drive away, the guy accompanying her receives a phone call and instructs her to hold on a second. When he hangs off the phone, he instructs her to switch off the engine and accompany him back to the office. He's quite calm, claiming that he forgot something little and that it's not a huge problem. When he realizes she is aware of what is going on, he tries to get her out of the car, but she manages to overcome him and drive away. As she tries to flee from him, a vehicle chase ensues. She is obstructed by a vehicle, so she gets out of her automobile and pepper sprays him. She makes her way to the door. When she realizes she's free, she leaves the car with the boys after expressing her rage. She goes away with her money. Emily is later spotted outside having difficulty breathing. Youcef then appears and assists her in calming down, even driving her home. When they arrive at her house, he offers to come up and assist her in applying ice to her face to prevent swelling. Emily, to her surprise, agrees. They're at the dining table, and he's glancing through her designs before showing her a house he wants to buy and refurbish. That makes her worry about how much money he truly makes. Youcef receives a call and is forced to leave. She attempts to return the burner phone, but he urges her to keep it because she knows his number. She returns to work the next day and apologizes to Javier for the previous day. Javier, on the other hand, informs her that Mocco, their boss, wants to see her. Emily enters his office. Emily is suspended by Mocco as punishment for missing work. She objects, but Mocco basically informs her that she has no rights because she is an independent contractor rather than an employee. The scene turns to Youcef teaching Emily. He brings her to a warehouse and explains the 3 business principles to her. This includes not using ATMs, meeting clients in private homes, and not robbing the same store more than once a week. Youcef gives her a taser to protect herself. Finally, Youcef informs her that if she earns less than $5,000, she may keep it. But if she earns more, she will be promoted to the next level. Emily then attends the party at her place. She begins practicing card fraud in her room. Later, she has her first deal, in which 2 huge males try to rip her off, but she resists, making $600 in the process. One of the guys teases her and asks what else she has to give. This, however, motivates her to work hotter. Emily continues to successfully combine her food delivery company with card fraud. She starts generating a lot of money and has to buy a safe to keep part of it. Liz leaves her dog with Emily to be watched while she travels. Unfortunately, this dog begins to bark loudly, depriving Emily of sleep. Emily prepares to meet Youcef the next day after passing the $5,000 challenge. He's impressed and chooses to hook her up with more cash. While she waits for him, Youcef's cousin, Khalil, walks in and seems displeased by Emily's presence. He requests to speak with Youcef outdoors. Later that night, Emily receives a business call and goes out to see the person. As she returns to her room, two individuals pursue her and tie her down with a knife to her neck. The man asks her where she has the cash, and she replies she doesn't have any. The man threatens her further, and Emily is forced to reveal the location of her safe. Before departing, the men grab all of the money and Liz's dog. Emily is stunned for many minutes by the incident. She rushes to shut the door as soon as they leave. Emily refuses to let these guys go free after recovering from the shock, so she gets her taser and walks to their car. She tases the man and threatens the lady before returning home with the dog and the money. Emily hears during a party that there is an opening at Liz's advertising business, and that Liz has arranged for her to interview with Alice, her employer. Emily invites Youcef to the celebration, which ignites their romance. Khalil announces to Youcef's family during dinner that Emily has been caught hitting the same business twice in a week, forcing the store to upload surveillance footage of her online. This causes a schism between Youcef and Khalil, who kicks him out of the fraud ring. Emily's job interview with Alice goes sour when she realizes it is an unpaid internship. When Emily objects, Alice taunts her, calling her spoiled. Youcef informs Emily that Khalil has not paid him for several months. Furthermore, the owner of the rental property he intends to buy requires an urgent down payment, so he decides to steal the fraud ring itself. When Youcef and Emily come at the ring's storage container, Khalil has already taken everything, including their shared corporate bank account. Emily persuades Youcef to meet Khalil in his hideout, where they plan to ambush him. Next, we see Khalil, who assaults Youcef, badly hurting him, but Emily uses a box cutter to restrain him. She finds they have misplaced his vehicle keys and are unable to drive away after taking the ring's money and aiding Youcef to his car. Emily decides to dump him in his car as police and ambulance sirens approach and grab the money for herself. The cops ultimately raid Emily's apartment and discover she is no longer there. She has returned to doing art while living in South America. Emily also starts her own credit card fraud ring, enticing dummy buyers with the promise of making $200 in an hour.